to episode 34 of the $300 Startup Podcast. I am your humble and gracious host, Jose Burgos, back with another episode where we debunk the common myth that you can't be a business owner, you can't have a side hustle, and still work your 9 to 5. That is absolutely baloney, guys. I'm living proof of that. And thankfully, my guest on this episode is actually living proof of that, and we share the same philosophy. But before I get into my guest, I wanted to let you guys know that I created a webinar where I go over the 6 pillars of starting a side hustle. Now, if you guys follow me, you know how crucial these 6 pillars are. This is the only thing you need in order to get your side hustle off the ground, your passion project off the ground, your business idea off the ground. This is all you need to do, guys, and that's super important. Please head over to the $300startup.com/webinar access sign up. I will put the link in the show notes, and there you'll be able to watch a webinar where I go in depth in all 6 of the pillars. And you can also get a free checklist that you can print out, you can put on your wall, you can put on your desk. I personally like to keep it on my phone, and you can reflect on this checklist whenever it is that you're starting a side hustle, starting your second hustle, your third hustle. It doesn't matter. It still applies, guys. So please go and check that out. Now, back to my guest. Very fortunate to have met Jen. My guest, by the way, is Jennifer Frost. Jennifer is a success strategist, and she helps other GenXers start their side hustles while still keeping a day job. Sounds similar to what I'm doing, huh, guys? Exactly, because once again, it is baloney for you guys to think that you are too busy or you don't have enough money to start a side hustle. The internet has leveled the playing field, guys. And in this discussion with Jen, we get deep into that. We get deep into what it takes. We talk about strategies and philosophies. We talk about where Jen is from. And, you know, I met Jen in a Facebook group, and that's the power of Facebook groups, and that's the power of technology. And very fast, we found out that we have a ton of things in common. We're both from Massachusetts, and many more things. We both have the same philosophy. We both still work on 9 to 5s, and we both continue to kill it and crush it every single day, guys. There's literally no excuses. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Jen. She has provided a few freebies that we'll put in the show notes. Check those out, guys. All right, enjoy the combo. We're officially recording, and 1, 2, and 3. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the $300 Startup Podcast. I'm super excited for this episode, guys, because my guest is going to be able to give you guys so much value that it is incredible that she's even willing to show up and give me her time for this podcast. I want to introduce you guys to Jen Frost, and she is a success strategist who helps other Gen Xers start their side hustles, even while working a 9 to 5. Hey, how you doing, Jen? How's it going?
Good. So much. Thanks so much for having me, Jose. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. Now, a little bit before we go into this, the power of the internet. Me and Jen actually met just conversating in a group. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's what I love. I can meet so many people online. It's great nowadays.
Yeah, it's the power of it. And then through some conversation here and there, we kind of figured out that not only do we do something similar, but we both also come from Massachusetts. Is that?
Yeah, that's right. Proud of it. Except I do say now I live in Florida, and I'm super happy to never see snow again as long as I live.
Okay, maybe when I get to Florida, then I'll get that. But right now, I like my seasons, you know?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, so I always like to start with letting, my guests, speak about themselves. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
Sure. So I grew up in Massachusetts, in a small town called Holliston, right next door to Hopkinton, where the Boston Marathon starts. And I spent my entire childhood there, straight up through college. And then when I graduated from college, I went on the road touring the world, actually, with Disney on Ice.
Really?
And yeah, nice. I was not a figure skater,
okay.
But I did get to help a lot of figure skaters around. I booked all the travel, helped with all the PR events, and I got to do that for a while. And that kind of led into my career in logistics, which I still do today. That's my day job, is entertainment logistics. And I love it. It's a lot of fun. But at the same time, I got to a point in my life where I was like, you know what, I'm missing something, yeah. I had mastered that. It was good. I'm, getting paid well, everything's fine. I've got a great husband, got a great house in Florida, but I just felt like I wasn't fulfilled. Okay. So at that point, I decided, actually a little bit before I really hit the breaking point, I started my own business here in Florida, watching people's second homes.
Nice.
Because in Florida, there's a lot of that, right?
Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we can get into that too in a little bit if you want me to tell you more about that. But from there, I started to feel unfulfilled. I'm like, you know what, I'm missing something. And really for me, what it was helping people. Like I always have loved to help people. I love to connect with people and help them figure out what they are missing in their lives. And so from there, I started doing some life coaching.
Oh,
And
nice.
I was doing that for about 3 years until I realized that, what it came down to was a lot of people get stuck because they don't know where to start when
Right.
they have something they want to do, right? And so that's how I started to work on the side hustle piece. Because I'm like, listen, I've done this. I've been there. I do my day job. I own my own business. And let me help other people do the same thing.
Right, exactly. Now, I would like to, this is a question that I like to ask because we're in a similar field.
Yeah.
Side hustle versus online business. What's your take on each one of those?
I think you can have a side hustle that is an online business, but
Okay.
not all side hustles are online businesses.
Okay, give me a little more on that. An example.
So, for example, maybe you want to watch people's second homes
Okay.
and you want to do that on the side. It's not a business that's based online. I mean, you go online, you can network, you can meet people, do all that, but you're not necessarily an online marketer or doing something that's specific to the online space. You can still have it be a side hustle.
Okay, awesome. Now let's backtrack a little bit. Now, in Massachusetts, when you were growing up, what were your interests growing up? I'm sure you didn't want to end up on Disney on Ice. I'm sure that wasn't the
Right?
goal.
I didn't even know that was a thing, right?
It's awesome, by the way. We just came from Disney on Ice a few weeks ago, so with
Oh,
the
did
kids.
you? Oh, that's
Yeah,
so
it's
funny.
incredible. So it's a
Yeah.
small world, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure that's not what you wanted to be. What were your interests growing up?
So growing up, I actually thought I was going to be a vet. Like I thought
Awesome.
I loved animals. I thought that's what I would do, and I I don't know. It's just something I thought I would want to be, right? I think it was one of those traditional fields that everybody
Sure.
kind of, and you think about. And so that's what I thought. And then I got to college. I actually went to Wheaton College in Norton, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And I couldn't get into the basic biology class. Like,
Oh,
they have certain gen eds and you have to take that before you can move on to something else.
right.
And I ended up not being able to get into it my first semester. And then the second semester, I didn't get into it. I probably could have pushed it at that point,
Right.
but I ended up shifting my focus to French and international relations, which
Completely different. 180.
completely different. But I
Yeah.
love, I just always was into politics and different stuff, and I thought that would be really cool. And I had also spoken French as a kid for a long time, so that was an easy major for me. But I kind of shifted, and I think it's just a question of how you evolve in your life, right?
Sure. And be willing to take that evolution, right? A lot of people sit in their ways and they think that they have to be a vet for the rest of their life or
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
such a
that's
huge problem.
and I think I'm really grateful to my parents for that lesson, that they were the kind of people that you can do anything you want. Like you don't have to be a
Awesome.
vet. You don't have to, take a certain path. As long as it got me excited, they were supportive of that. And I'm super grateful for them, because I think that a lot of society nowadays, you get kind of pigeonholed, right? You're going to be a
Sure.
doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, even you're going to be a
Absolutely.
vet, whatever it is. And then you don't get to follow those passions and do
Right.
the fun things in life.
Yeah. And then you beat yourself up about it, right? Over time, it's just one of those things where
Yes.
it's like, I'm not living up to my parents' standards. I hate this. I hate being a doctor or I hate being a vet. And you just live a miserable life. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. And
something to
life's too
avoid.
short for that. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Now, to touch on your parents, would it be safe to say that they're your role models, or did you have any role models growing up, or?
Yeah, I would say I really my mom worked sometimes, but my dad also had a full-time job, obviously, the whole time I was growing up.
Sure.
Not too much into side hustles, but I do remember a point in my life where like you've got to make extra money to be able to pay for vacations or do that kind of stuff. And my dad, one of the things that he did was he actually worked for like a telemarketer thing, trying to sell chimney sweeps. Like, like you like go and whatever, like, hey, you need your chimney cleaned out or whatever. And
Yeah, yeah.
I always remember to this day, like I learned one of my best lessons from him as far as a marketing lesson. And that was, he came home, whatever, and he's telling me about it. And I was, he's telling me all these people keep saying no, obviously. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you're in telemarketing. Like you get no after no after no. And he told me, he's like, Jen, he's like, you have to call at least 10 people to get a yes,
Okay.
because statistically 1 in 10 people are going to buy a chimney sweep or whatever, right?
Sure.
And at the time, and he's like, so every time someone says no, I say thank you, because
Yeah.
I know that I'm one person closer to a yes.
I love that.
And I was
That's
like, that is awesome. And that his
incredible.
perspective, that's what I got to grow up with. And so yes, absolutely my role models.
Oh, now did you guys talk a lot about finances in the household? Was that a common thing or?
I was actually talking to my sister about this the other day because she's got 2 young kids. What my parents did, one of the coolest things I thought they did for us growing up was they would set the budget at the beginning of the year, right? As you do. And
Okay.
then they would sit us down. It was me, my sister, and my parents. There's 4 of us in the family, right? My sister's 2 years younger than I am. And they would give us Monopoly money. And they would say, okay, this is how much money we're going to have this year to spend. And we need to spend this much on the mortgage. So we all, we took the mortgage money out, we put it in the
Right.
pile. And then this is how much we're going to spend on school, whatever, if you need to do that, or this is how much we're going to spend on food. We agreed on how much it was. Obviously, they already had plans. They already knew what we were going to spend the money on, but they brought
Okay.
us into the conversation. And then they said, okay, so how much money should we spend on clothes? Like this is how much money we have left. You can have, really nice clothes, or you can have not great clothes, but then we can go on vacation, right? So we
Yeah.
got to be part of that conversation from a really young age and figuring out how we were budgeting, financing, and I still remember it fondly as like one of the coolest, a great way to teach kids about finance, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would second that. I think that's the coolest strategy I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I got 4 kids myself, and I don't think I've even thought of doing something like that. That's super cool. I'm gonna have to try that out for sure.
Yeah, let me know how it goes. I'll tell you what, I still remember in my 40s now, I still remember doing it as a kid.
Yeah, no, it just sounds like it makes so much sense. Why just keep repeating to them? Because I tell my kids all the time, especially the oldest, you can get really nice clothes, or you can save up for, she's about to get her license. So you can
Right.
save up for your car and save up all that. But the tangible of physically having the money in the hand,
Yeah.
and the fact that you are sitting together as a family, actually conversating about it, I think that's where that power lies in there.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. And then when a decision's made, then later that year, it's like, well, what about this? It's like, well, remember we had that conversation, like we're going on
mm,
this vacation. You wanted to go to Disney World. So
right.
that means that we're not doing this instead.
Consequences. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like you got definitely the building of an entrepreneur. I mean, you got a business background. You were able to talk about finances. You actually saw your dad, attempt a side hustle and bring more money on the side before you maybe even knew what a side hustle was, which is incredible. So now let's move into the business.
Yeah.
When did you know for sure that you wanted to work for yourself or be a business owner and tackle that?
So that would have been the home watch business.
Okay.
And it was 8 years ago when I started that. And I didn't even, I have no, I'd have to really think about why I decided to start it.
Sure.
Something must have triggered it, but I don't know what that trigger was. But I do know I was talking to one of my girlfriends, and she and I were talking, and I was like, you know what? Like, we live in Florida. And part of it is that, my husband and I used to travel a lot for work. Obviously, we're traveling with Disney on Ice. We were
Yeah.
on the road a lot. And even after we stopped touring, we were home here working for an entertainment company. So you're still on the road a lot.
Right.
So I knew what it was like to leave my home, right? And leave it unattended for an extended period of time, and the things that you worry about and all of the things that can go wrong and all
Right.
that. So I was talking to my girlfriend. I'm like, I think this would be a cool business. Like, I think that people in Florida could really benefit from this. And so we're talking, and whatever, the time goes by. She called me one day. I was actually on a business trip, and she's like, hey, that idea you had, are you going to do that? Because if you're not going to do that, I think I want to do that. And
Nice.
I was like, hey, let's do it together. So we did. We just decided, let's start it. So we did. But I knew nothing at that point about starting a business, nothing about even how to start a business. Like, what's an LLC, or,
Sure.
what do I need to do to make sure I have the right insurance? Like, I didn't know anything, contracts, nothing. And, but we did it. We just decided to get together and started it. And here you go, 8 years later, and she's no longer a partner. I own it full time now. I
Okay.
own it 100% myself, but I do have one woman that works for me and does a lot of the day-to-day checks and does all that kind of stuff.
Cool. Now, I'd like to give the listeners perspective from, the idea and that phone call. How long did it actually take you to learn how to be, a business owner and get this thing off the ground?
Um, Let me think. I would say, well, from idea to
Hmm.
first client
Okay.
was probably about 6 months.
Okay. That's a good
Yeah,
turnaround.
yeah, yeah.
And that's to learn
And
everything you needed and to learn.
yeah, and I
Oh,
think to learn the basics, like, it wasn't that we probably in a month or so, we probably knew what we needed to do. And then it
okay.
was about creating the business, creating our product, selling it, marketing it. And there's a couple of really cool resources. I'm sure you may talk about them on your show. I don't know, but have you ever heard of SCORE, SCORE? It's a
No, I have
small
not.
business it's a small business association, and they've got they have free programs that you can take to like
Oh,
how to write a business plan and do different stuff like that. And St. Pete, where I live in Florida, has a great program that you can go and go to free classes and stuff. So we attended some of those, and got some really good resources and information from all that too.
super
But yeah,
cool.
I'd say
Yeah.
within 6 months we had our first client.
Cool. Guys, check out Score if you haven't. Is it just SCORE? Is that the best way to
Yep,
Google search that? Okay.
I think so. Yeah, probably we could probably get the link we can put in the show notes.
Cool. Definitely. So yeah, check that out. That's huge there. Now, how did you attract that first client? Was it just word of mouth? Was it online marketing? How did you go about that route?
So I tried a bunch of different things, and
Mhm.
one of the things we tried that didn't work was mailing like postcards.
Okay.
And we tried that, and like literally, we went to like the tax records and figured out who wasn't homesteaded, so they didn't have a home. I spent hours on that stuff, and like
Nice.
then it didn't have a return, and I'm like, okay, well, learn that lesson. But I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, it was my website that did it in
Oh,
the end.
okay.
Found me
You
through the
guys.
website.
Okay. And did you guys? How did you go about the website? Did you WordPress it? Did you?
So this is also one of the craziest, weirdest, like whatever. When you start a business, there's certain things you think you need right away. Like I'm like, I need business cards, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to go to Vistaprint and I'm going to order some business cards.
Yeah.
And so we did that. We got a name, and then we ordered the business cards. And then I really liked this business card that they had. And then Vistaprint's always trying to upsell you on something. They're like,
Of
hey,
course.
there's a website that matches this business card that you liked. So that's literally how I got my first website. It was Vistaprint.
So you so you went through the Vistaprint funnel pretty much all the way
Yeah,
through.
I totally did. It worked. I was sold, and I used that website for up until this past year. I recently, so I was J&M Home Management was my company name,
Okay.
and but M was Megan, my friend that I started it with, and she's been out of the business for like 6 years.
Right.
And so I finally changed it this year to Good Life Home Watch, and now that I use Wix now for my website instead.
Okay. Nice.
But yeah, that's how I figured out my website.
Now, is there a reason you go to Wix for any particular reason? Convenience?
Yeah,
Just
I've tried Squarespace, I've
mhm.
tried Wix. I tried WordPress first, and we did not get along. Like I broke up with WordPress so fast.
Yeah, yeah. I don't blame you. It's complicated as heck. Yeah.
And and one of the things I've learned on my entrepreneurial journey is like stay in your zone of genius and keep what you're good at doing what you do, and then find someone that can help you do the things that you're not good at.
For sure.
And so I actually found someone that helped me build the Wix website, and so I ended up hiring someone to do that for me.
Okay. Now,
That's how I ended up on Wix.
when you decided to do that decision to outsource, is pretty much what you did
Yep.
there. I always ask this question because I felt the way about it in the beginning. Did ego get in the way for you? Did you drag your feet on outsourcing before you realized, hey, I need to give this to somebody?
Yes. And you know what I
Okay.
think? I think that it was more about the money. When you
Okay.
first
Yeah.
start,
Yeah.
and the idea of spending this money that you don't have
Right.
can be so scary because you don't know if it's going to work. You're about to invest in something, whether it's investing in a coach or whether it's investing in a website or, whatever it is, anything,
Yeah.
marketing. And the idea that it may or may not work holds you back. Right.
Absolutely.
And that, I think once I got over that hurdle of knowing that you've got to spend money to make money sometimes, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a lot, but you are going to have to invest in yourself.
Absolutely.
Um, that's when I started to see a return.
Okay. Cool.
And that's
Yeah.
when I decided I would start outsourcing.
Okay. Yeah, I dragged my feet on that.
Yeah.
I thought I could do it everything, and,
Yep.
and I have that, that energy about me that's like, hey, if it's in front of me, I could tackle it anytime.
Yep.
But the hours were running thin.
Yeah.
What I was capable of, I was just burnt out, right? I couldn't be creative anymore. It's so many things to do. The to-do list was just endless.
Yep.
And then I had a buddy of mine who does videography for weddings. And he just kept telling me the same thing that you said. He's like, look, man, you got to invest this money in order to get it to come back to you. And until you learn that, you're going to be in trouble. And
Yep.
lo and behold,
Yep.
yeah,
It's so true. It's so true. But it is an ego thing too. I think for all of us type A's, entrepreneurs by trade, we're the kind of people that are going to solve a problem. Like we're not
right.
going to just give up on something. So we'll just beat that drum, man, for way longer than we need to sometimes. And that
Absolutely.
outsourcing one was one of them for sure.
Cool. All right. Now, in the process of, being in business and how long you've been in business, in the beginning, what was the fear, the biggest one, the biggest fear you had to overcome?
Um, I think the biggest fear for me was telling people what I was doing, because
Interesting.
people saw me as Jen, the entertainment logistics gal. Like, why would I start a home watch business, or why would I decide to start teaching people how to do a side hustle? Like, that's not the Jen that they knew, as far as I was concerned in my head. So
Right.
I was just afraid of the judgment, and afraid of what people would think. And realizing that, not everyone has the same perspective I do really helped with that. And realizing that if I kept hiding and wasn't visible with my stuff, then there was no way I was going to grow. So, now I have a much different perspective. I call it my not my people method. Like, where, like, if I am worried about something or someone has an opinion that is not favorable or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, thanks. You're not my people,
Right. I love
you
that.
know?
Yeah.
But that was probably my biggest one.
Yeah, and that's another one, a big one for me too. But I also figured that somebody told it to me, and they told it to me very bluntly. I forgot who it was, but that it's actually very narcissistic of us to think that people care, that much, that they're
Yeah.
following us and that they know everything about us, and it really isn't, because the internet is sort of like a mystique, right? Like you don't know what Jose was doing, last year or the year before, but I'm telling you now what I'm doing now, and that's more of a, and like you said, in our heads, we struggle with that because we're thinking what we think they know, but that's very
Yeah.
narcissistic, and it's poison. It's a toxic feeling, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. And I also heard something once that was interesting to me too. It's like, when you're worrying about what someone else is thinking, it's like, are they going to be at your funeral?
Right. Yeah.
Like, if they're not going to be at your funeral, then why do you care? Like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Similar to, are they going to pay your bills? They don't pay your
right,
bills for you. Yeah.
right.
I've always been very interested in how, how we kind of make things difficult for ourselves in our mind. That's always something that I've actually wanted to like read up on, and like, human nature pretty much. But it's very interesting that we're willing to make up these stories in our head to
Hmm.
kind of just slow us down from doing what we know we need to be doing.
Yeah. Well, and I
Um,
can speak to that a little bit from my life
Please
coach
do.
world. Our subconscious, all it wants to do is keep us safe.
Okay.
It just wants to keep us safe. That's its entire job, right? So it's fight or flight. It goes back to like everything, primitive that we think about. So whenever we decide that we want to have a new idea and we want to come up with something that we want to do that's out of that comfort zone a little bit,
Hmm.
that subconscious is doing everything in its power to keep you exactly where you are.
Mm.
And so when we think of the idea, then the next thing is, oh, well, no one's going to like that, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't have the tools, or I don't have the money. And all
Right.
that self-doubt kicks in. And it's all because it's coming from a place of trying to keep you safe.
Okay.
So the best way to overcome that is to be able to be self-aware that that's what's happening, right? So
Right.
once you know it's happening, then you can be like, okay, thanks, subconscious, have a seat in the corner. I appreciate you trying to take care of me, but I'm a big girl now. I can take care of myself, and I'm going to go do this. And
Awesome.
then you're able to move past it. But it's always a question of saying, okay, what's really stopping me here? And usually it's that.
Right, right. And the key word that you said, there's the self-awareness of it, which,
Hmm.
that word gets dropped around everywhere on the internet, but it's actually difficult to do.
Yeah.
It's something that requires a ton of practice. And, people read it all the time and they think like, yeah, I'm self-aware, but unless you're actively practicing being self-aware, you're probably not
Yeah.
self-aware.
And even when, like, I think, someone that I meditate every day, like I do a
Sure,
lot of things to really keep my headspace exact where I need it to be to protect myself from all of that self-doubt and everything else.
sure.
But the more self-aware you become, the more you realize that you have all these thoughts that are trying to derail you. And it's like, man, like this is ever going to end? But it's more so just, the more you practice it, like you said, the better you are at being able to manage it.
Right. And now that you said meditating, can I pick your brain about meditation for a bit?
Sure.
Because I am a person that has tried it or has attempted to try it over and over in the past and have never got it to stick.
Okay.
Now I understand the benefits of it and I understand why one should meditate, but correct me if I'm wrong if I say that my form of meditation is journaling. Would that be
Journaling is
accurate?
great. Yeah.
Okay.
And journaling is a great way to meditate. It's really about this. What you're doing is you're giving your mind a break. I think,
Okay.
we're so busy, like our mind is going and doing so much in the background all the time, that the
Absolutely.
idea is to just like be able to get that white space for the ideas to come up and to be able to really like find your center and find your focus. And,
Okay.
journaling, I like to journal after I meditate because I find certain things will come up for me that I wasn't on the forefront.
Right.
Yeah, I love journaling. So
Okay.
I'd love to know, I'm curious now,
Yeah.
what's been your biggest challenge with meditating, would you say?
Um, Giving myself the excuses to do it again. Well, those keep coming up. It's not giving them to myself. Is that they're the resistance between me and actually sitting down for 10 minutes and doing it again. And the reason I say that is because I've had successful sessions, or what I feel are successful sessions, where I get super deep and I definitely get into this mode that can't happen if my thoughts are active. But yeah, every time I go to say to myself, let me go sit down for another 10 minutes, something else clicks in that's like, you know what, but you could use those 10 minutes to go do this, or you could use those 10 minutes to, journal or to do
Yep.
something else. And I talk myself out of actually sitting down and doing it.
So
So if you
that's
got
your
any tips,
subconscious.
is it? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
In
trying to get
action.
you keep you safe. It's like, no, we don't have to meditate. What if you meditate and then you actually find something? What if it makes your life better? Like, what if, no, let's just stay right here in our safe little box, and we like this, so we're going to stay right here.
That is interesting that you say it that way. That because one would think that there's nothing to be protected from, right? It's just meditating. It's just sitting there. But when you frame it in that aspect, which is, what if I find something?
Mm.
That's very interesting. So, what would you recommend for somebody like me to actively keep doing? Is just be persistent,
I
or
practice. I just keep practicing. I mean, you know that it's possible. Like you said yourself that you've had opportunities where it worked, right?
I felt so. Yeah,
Yeah. And so maybe it takes 10 times, and the first one of those 10, you feel like you got something out of it. The other thing about meditating is you kind of have to trust the process. Like, it could be that you get nothing out of that 10 minutes and you're like, okay, well, that was a waste of time. But
sure.
secretly, it's not. Like, secretly, something's happening back there that is going to open something up to you later. Like, whether it's you
Gotcha.
have a thought in the shower, or you're driving, or,
Yeah,
whatever, that may not have been able to come to the surface if you didn't give your mind that opportunity to have that rest.
gotcha. So the delayed gratification of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll stack up. Gotcha.
Yeah. I think so.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And I also like to, when I relate journaling to meditation, I like to just bring up sort of like, like a computer needs to empty its cache.
Yeah.
I kind of like to use that metaphor for anybody who knows what cache is. A lot of people may not even know, but yeah, it's sort of like your computer slowed down, is bogged down, it's acting up. You go ahead and you clear the cache, you clear the memory, and then you kind of get this fast computer again that's actually processing thoughts and nice and clean and fluid. And I like to think of my journaling as that. It's sort of like emptying my cache, distilling it, and then starting fresh again and getting a brand new.
Totally. Yeah. I call it a brain dump.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jen, let's get back to the business here.
Yeah.
So technology, you use it a lot, I'm sure. How has it leveled the playing field? I remember earlier in this conversation, you were explaining the postcards and how tedious that process was. And so explain to me what technology has done, not only for your business, but just for your life in general.
Yeah, I think technology is huge. I mean, it really has leveled the playing field, because before, if I was starting a home watch business or any kind of a business, and I'm in, St. Pete, Florida, the only way that I can reach out and connect with other people is to go to a networking event, or, go somewhere locally where those people are, or mail these postcards that they're probably going to throw away anyways.
Sure.
But now with the internet, you can, through so many different avenues, you can connect with so many different people, and people are using it to find what they need too. So someone's going to go to Google and they're going to search for what they need rather than going to the yellow pages. So it's a two-way street. And I think I love technology. I think too, it helps me keep my life organized. Like, I'm definitely a paper person. Like, I still have my planner that's sitting right next to me. Like, I always have to have that. Right. But,
Sure.
I also have a calendar on Google that I use. So I have my Google Calendar, and then I have my paper planner, and that's been great. And then just, the idea that you can share information so freely is what I like about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you spoke about, having to go and physically network with people. Now, how are you doing that now on the internet? How are you marketing your services now on the internet?
So a couple different ways. I think it's actually a pretty simple system, in that first thing you have to do is first have to figure out who you're helping, right? Like, who do you want to help? And then who would you have fun helping? Like, because I think it's also important that you enjoy what you do, right?
Super huge. Yes.
And so once you figure that out, then where are they hanging out? Where do they like to go? And if you're going to have fun helping them, it's probably, I would hope, someplace that you like to hang out. Like, we met in a Facebook group, right? Because that group had something that we both enjoyed. And
Absolutely.
So that's how I like to network with people. And I can do that for my coaching. I can do that for my home watch business. Like locally, there's a lot of local groups that I can hop into and just say, hey, who wants some info on how to close your home up before you leave for the season? Or, hey, this is some insight that I had working with someone today or whatever. And I love to do that. And I love to connect with people that way. But you can also run ads, if you, in fact, I'm actually just now with my home watch, I've only ever done word of mouth and my website and all that. Yeah. But this season I've decided, okay, I'm going to actually run some ads. So I'll let you know how it goes. It's new to me, but I am using technology for that too now.
Oh, super cool. Okay. Now you're running two businesses in a day job, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now how do you prioritize which one gets the most of your time or the important one?
Yeah, right. That's huge. So, it's all about focus, and it's all about, like we were talking earlier about, emptying your cache. Well, the brain dump for me is my first step in that process.
Okay.
I literally take and I write down everything I can think of that I want to get done.
Okay.
And I write it all. I just literally dump it right out of my brain. And then as I look at that list, I kind of put them into buckets of, okay, this is for my logistics. This is for my home watch. This is for my coaching, whatever it is. And then I figure out, okay, what's the one thing I can do this week that's actually going to get me closer to my goal?
Okay.
And then that's the one that I focus on as much as possible. And there's probably also a bunch of things on that list that I can delegate and outsource that then I can have multiple things going on at once. I think, we were talking about my intern, how I have an intern.
Yes.
You can talk about that too in a minute if you want.
Definitely,
but as far as prioritizing, I'm like, okay, what can I give to my intern? What can I do myself? What do I need to say no to? Right. Because that's the other thing is
super hard.
Huge list, something's not going to get done. And if you think everything's a priority, nothing's going to be a priority. So just knowing that and then figuring out what it is and then schedule it. You've got to write it down.
Absolutely.
Like literally write it down in your calendar, block out the time. And then when it's, Sunday morning and you're tired from the night before, if you wrote down that you were going to do something during that time, honor that commitment to yourself and do it.
Awesome. Now, does the fact that the nature of your day job, since you have bosses and people that you have to respond to, now, does the nature of that mean that your day job is getting most of your day and most of your attention, and then you have to, willingly make yourself do your side projects, or do you not just autopilot the day job and focus 100% on the side stuff?
No, I actually have a team that work for me in my day job, and it does require a lot of oversight and a lot of strategy and a lot of thinking. So I really do focus on my day job when I'm there, and I want to give them 110%, just like I give 110% to everything else that I do. And one of the things I heard this actually on another podcast, this woman was talking about how, like when you're for me, I live in Florida, right? Yeah. And I've got family up in Massachusetts. Okay. So when you're in Florida, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, man, I wish I could be with my sister and spend time with her and, visit with her and, all that. And then when I'm visiting with her, then I'm thinking about, what's going on in Florida? Like, what are my friends doing? What's going on? Right. And you're never present in either place because you're so focused on the other thing. Right. So the most important thing we can do is realize, again, be self-aware that we're doing that. And then say, you know what, if I'm going to divide my time when I'm somewhere, I'm not going to be good at anything. So I'm going to take the time that I have when I'm at my day job and I'm going to focus on my day job because that's what I've done. I've made that. And then when I'm home, I'm going to focus on that. And being able to compartmentalize and focus on the different things at the different times makes a huge difference.
And I'm sure with a lot of practice, you just get better at it.
And you have to. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like at lunchtime, I'm on there like, okay, who's on? What's going on? Like, checking in with everybody and I want to see what's up or whatever. I might be between a meeting and I'm like, I got a few minutes. I'm going to hop on and see what's going on in my online world. Yeah. But when I'm focused on a project, I'm focused on that project. Or if I'm focused on, helping a customer at work or something, that's what's getting my attention.
Gotcha. I can relate to the lunchtime thing. I've actually outsourced my meal in a sense, but just having a protein shake and just freeing up my hands so I could do stuff like that during lunch, which is, answer people or record more stuff or whatever it may take. Now, before we move on and ask you about your intern, I wanted to go back and ask something because this is actually what I enjoy about you, Jen, where you and I have something similar here. I can't count the amount of people that either promise or try to get people to start a business in order to leave their 9 to 5. And
Right.
where you and I relate is that no, you can actually keep that stability. You can keep those bills getting paid, that 401k, all those insurance and all that stuff. And you can actually still have a business on the side. So my question to
Totally.
you would be is, what would make you want to do both? Because people would think you're nuts if you want to do
Yeah,
both.
people think I'm nuts all the time.
Right. Same here.
But I think, that's why I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. And I love it. I am a crazy person. I'm totally fine with it.
Awesome.
But no, I think that you get different things from different jobs, right? Or you get different things from different parts of your life. And for me, like, I do love what I do. I really enjoy it. I love the people I show up for every day. I get to, bring smiles to faces all around the world,
Love it.
moving people and the equipment, doing some cool stuff. And I'm not quite ready to give that up yet, but that doesn't mean that my growth stops. That
Right.
doesn't mean that I'm just going to be settling at that level. For
Right.
me, I'm always looking for the next job, next opportunity, the next thing. And so that's the side hustle. And you know what? I just realized the moment that I decided to start the home watch business.
Okay. When was that?
So I got my MBA.
Okay.
I was doing that, going to working full time. Plus I got an MBA, and that takes a lot of time. So I did it all online.
Nice.
But when I
Congrats.
finished, I'm at lunch one day with my husband, and I was like, and we can do this, and we can do this. And I started to just have all these cool ideas for stuff. And he's like, Jennifer, like, you've got to get a hobby, because if you don't get a hobby, like, my life is about to change. Because I had all this free time that I was working on my MBA. That's when I started the home watch business. But I think that's what it goes to, is that if you're a passionate person and you're someone that really enjoys, contributing to other people and helping and doing things, like, it doesn't stop when you leave your job at 5 or 6 o'clock at night or whatever. Like,
Right.
you have so much to offer that why try to just keep that bottled up? Why not go out and do something with that?
I love that. That's the best answer I've ever gotten to that. That's super cool. Okay, now when you're stuck in business, actually, let's talk about the intern. So this is pretty much outsourcing at its finest. Give us a little more info on intern and why you would need one and how good they are, et cetera.
Yeah, so I found it. It was a Facebook group I was in with someone, and they mentioned it, and they said, "Hey, I've been using this this website. It was called they changed the name. It's now called Acadium, I think. Acadium.
Okay.
I can get you the link for it too, so you can drop it for your people.
I will do.
But basically what it is it's a bunch of people that want to learn online marketing, and there's all different levels of people in there. So there's some that one of my interns is a college student, and he wants to get into online marketing, right? So he's benefiting from me because he's going to help me. He's helping me with my podcast. We're coming up with the concept, he's helping write all the copy for it, all the content. He's working on a logo, like all that stuff. He's learning about it, and then that frees me up to just show up for my podcast and record for an hour, and then he takes it and runs with it. That's a whole nother part of my life that I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't have the support.
Right.
But he wins too. I have a second intern who works on my home watch business, and he's helping me with SEO and getting my message out with my home watch business. And he is, whatever, probably our age. He's been doing this for a long time, but he really wants to start having a digital nomad life and needs some testimonials. So I've got an expert SEO guy for free that wants to help me. He's going to work with me for 3 months, beef up my business, help me with my ads, do all that. And then I'm going to give him a rockin' testimonial. I might decide I like him and I want to hire him on, like that could happen too. But it's a really good platform for that. And I did have I'm on my 4th intern. So my 3rd and my 4th intern right now.
Nice.
My first one kind of fell flat. He thought he knew what he was doing. He was really excited. And then it ended up being, he kind of just fell off, and I, kind of ghosted me. But I reached out to the platform, and they just gave me a credit for another one. And when I was ready to use it, I used it. So I didn't lose anything because of that, which I think they know that's going to happen, right? And they work with you on that.
I would hope so, yeah.
And then the second one I had, she was great too. She helped me with a whole email campaign that I wanted to do and help set it up, and, build that with me and whatever. So it's really, you have to be project-based. Yeah. You've got to have something that you want them to specifically, there's going to be a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you're going to work on this over the next 3 months. Okay. Or, you already have, I think if I had tried to do it when I first started my business, I don't know if I would have gotten as much out of it, only because I didn't know what I needed to do.
Right.
But now that I know what I need, I'm able to articulate that and then use someone to help me get that.
Gotcha. Because they're only as good as the instructions that they get.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, super awesome. I'm actually gonna have to look into that myself.
Yeah, it's great. I can't remember. I don't know what the cost is. I got in, it's like one of those progressive plans where like since I signed up at that day, I always pay the same amount, but it's increased prices since then. But you pay, yeah, exactly. So it's like you pay a certain amount every 3 months, and that's for your next intern. And as long as you stay on the program, then you only ever pay that much every 3 months. But it's
but
not
definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's definitely a good investment, I think, and not a lot of money.
Yeah, this goes back to that. This goes back to that fear we were talking about earlier of, in the beginning, spending that money. But if you just turn the question around and say, well, how much do I want to pay myself an hour, right? Like, how much is my time worth? 2 hours of hanging out with my kids is definitely worth, I can't even put a price on it. Never mind, if I pay, a college student a few $100s to get something done for me.
Exactly.
And free up that time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's they're committed to 10 hours a week. So you're getting them like for it's a good chunk of time. As long as you know what you need and you can give them the good direction, then it's a win-win.
Now, are these U.S. based, or are they across seas, or?
They're all over the world. Cool. Right now, I've got one that's in the U.S. and then one that's in South Africa.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Well, as long as the work works.
Yeah, exactly. And also it just depends on what you want and what you need. Like, so you can look at what their skill set is and what they're doing and then pick from there.
All right, super cool. Yeah. I've personally had problems in the past with Fiverr and with across seas. And I think it's more of a communication thing. I don't think it's, Fiverr for say their services or anything like that, or who they recruit to do their jobs. I think it's just, if you give somebody instructions that you think are clear cut, but in their country, they're not clear cut, you're not going to get clear cut results, obviously.
Yeah. And I think that's the case no matter who you hire.
Correct.
If, you've got to be able to give them instruction for them to be able to follow it. And I also actually have a VA that's in the Philippines. And I see that with her is that, what I think I'm asking for isn't what she interpreted. Right. And sometimes, but that's part of my learning process, and part of me being able to be good at what I do is being able to communicate correctly with her. And so I've learned a lot about that as well.
I agree with that 100%. All right, let's get a few questions here. People always seem to think, especially when they see you online, that you have everything figured out and you never get stuck. So when you do get stuck, who do you go to get unstuck, right? Who's mentors, or do you know somebody personally?
Yeah, so I've had a few different coaches in my time.
Nice.
I think that it's super important to always continue to invest in yourself from that perspective. So I'm in a program right now with, actually it's a guy, Johnny, I don't know if you know who Johnny West is.
I do.
There's a lot in ClickFunnels and that kind of stuff. But he actually made a funnel for me and for my home watch business. And then he was just offering this program, and I'm like, I'm going to sign up because I like his perspective. And I like his, the way that he wants people to share value and do different things. And so it just was aligned with me. So I have that mentor group right now. There's a whole group of us in that program. I've had other coaches in the past. I follow, I love to listen to like Gary Vee.
Yeah.
And just, I'm always on a podcast. I'm always doing something to help me, like, listening to things on my way to the day job and back. And I'm part of a book group. Book club that we do a different book every month. And so I learn a lot from that, and I can always drop in there and be like, hey, what do you guys think of this? Or what's going on with that? So super cool. Yeah. My goal is to always surround myself with people that are doing what I want to be doing. Right. And that can give me that, and just people on my same wavelength that I want to work with.
Absolutely. Yeah. The constant reminder throughout the day to stay focused.
Yeah.
That's key. Yeah. All right. So where do you see your business in the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years down the road?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Depends on which one. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
The home watch business, my goal is to double my clients by next season. So that's why I'm actually going into, doing the ads and the marketing and that kind of stuff. Because I don't think that's an unrealistic goal. It's just a question of, getting that done. So that's happening. I'd say long-term. So I've turned 45 this year. So I've got another, 10 years or so that I want to be doing the day job probably.
Okay.
And then by that point, the home watch business will be at a point that I'll be able to give that to my husband, actually, is kind of my goal. And
really cool. Yeah.
That. And then I want to just do my side hustle coaching and some other coaching and that kind of stuff full time, probably in about 10 years.
Oh, super cool.
Short-term goal for that is I want to start a subscription program for other side hustlers as a place that we can get together and really just help, encourage each other and talk about different side hustles and, different perspectives, and just help people to, take the action that you have to take to maintain that side hustle.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right, Jen, we're going to go into the part of the show that I like to call the wrap up. Now, these are your typical, I fire them out, you fire the first one that comes into your head.
Fun.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one, if you can change anything from the beginning of starting your business, what would it be?
Outsource sooner.
Okay. Love that answer. I agree. Do you have any advice or tips you would give anyone looking to start their own business or are in the beginning stages of it?
Yeah. Just start. Do something. It doesn't have to be your lifelong mission.
Awesome. All right. Any book recommendations for new business owners?
Yeah. I just finished a really cool book called Hooked, Hooked. And it's about creating a product that gets people addicted to it. So that was kind of cool.
Awesome. Do you have any questions for me?
Why did you decide to start the side hustle mission?
Because about a few years ago, I was getting a $37 check and I got 4 kids and I needed to find a way to make money online. And I went through so many different things like affiliate marketing and stuff like that and just wasn't good at it. I landed at digital marketing, and that in turn has been able to provide, the income that, I'm able to have vacations with and pay debt off with. And so the reason I started it was financial reasons, but now it has evolved into how can I get people unstuck that were stuck where I was at?
Yeah.
Because I spent so much time and money, as I'm sure you did, trying to figure this whole thing out.
Yeah.
And I want to reduce that friction for anybody who's trying to get into start their own business game.
That's great. And I think that for a lot of people, that's what the problem is. You just don't know where to start,
right.
And I'll talk to people all the time. I was talking to a woman the other day and she's like, had a couple different ideas and she didn't know what to do. And she also didn't know if she was good enough to do it. And I'm like, you know what? Just who do you know that needs what you can offer? Pick up the phone, call them and say, hey, can I help you with this? Because if you help them, then you're going to learn and then you can figure out what you can actually do to monetize that. And, I think that's so important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then another big problem is just there's so much information out there and it's all spread apart, right? So you can't just type in, hey, you could type in, how do I start a business, but you're not going to get a straight shot answer.
Yep.
You're going to get like, hey, start a website. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. And it definitely becomes tedious. You end up in a bunch of dead end roads. And,
yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's so valuable if you can provide a one-stop shop to say, hey, come here. I'm going to tell you what to do. You're going to follow my process, and then you're going to be able to thrive.
To change your life.
And that will save so much time and money.
For sure. All right, Jen. So where can everybody find you at? And if you decided to give our listeners a freebie, you want to talk about that freebie, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me online on Facebook. I actually have a page called Expedited Success, my Facebook page. I have my website, which is also expeditedsuccess.com. Okay. And I have a freebie called, which hopefully my online marketer friend here can help me figure out how to get the link working. By the time we do this, it'll be done. No, so I have a freebie, which is called your Life Vision Workbook. And it's a clarity blueprint, actually, to help you get clear on what you want to be doing and figure out what that one big thing is that you need to focus on to get there.
Awesome. And that is completely free for our listeners? Or?
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
Yep. I'll get you the link and then I just have to, I'll email it to them. So drop your email in there and then I'll email it to you.
All right. Sounds good. Guys, go check out that freebie. Jen has definitely provided for us. And Jen, thank you so much. You are multifaceted. You do so many different things and I got so much to learn from you. I appreciate for you giving me your time. And I hope we continue talking and building our relationship. It's awesome.
Awesome. Thanks. So I appreciate it too. This is great. It's a lot of fun. I love talking about this stuff. I could do it for days. So it's been a lot of fun.
All right, guys. That was Jen for you guys. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care. That's a fantastic talk that I just had with Jen. I hope you guys got a ton of value out of it. I loved how she talked about her parents being a role model. I love that she's well traveled. She's tried a bunch of different things. I love that Jen still has the philosophy that I have, which is like, hey, we can keep these day jobs because sometimes we actually do like our day jobs and still have a side hustle. I love how, she talked a lot about, going through the trials and errors and being scared to outsource in the beginning because you didn't know how much money you were going to spend it. Overall, this whole conversation was super valuable to me, and I hope it was super valuable to you guys. So once again, thank you to Jen. Check out the show notes, guys. Jen provided us a bunch of great tools and a bunch of great links that we can use and a few freebies. Check out the $300 startup toolkit. It will be launching officially on Tuesday, but you can get in if you watch the webinar early. And the toolkit is super powerful, guys. It goes through logos, it goes through websites, it goes through Facebook ads, it goes through getting paid, it goes through Facebook business page. It's literally the framework that I designed to get your best idea off the ground, guys. And I really think you guys should check it out. At the very least, go get the free checklist, which you get at the webinar as well. And print it out and put it near your desk when you're working on your side hustle so that you can see what you need to work on next or what you need to implement next. But I promise you guys, these are the only 6 things. And I built this framework in a way that'll save you a ton of money and save you a ton of time. And it's super powerful. So once again, it releases officially on St. Patrick's Day, depending on when you hear in this podcast. But you can get in a little early by going to the link in the show notes, checking out that webinar, getting your free checklist, and then on that page, you could, check out the toolkit and see what it's all about and see if it's worth it for you and see if you're the type of person that has the that's open-minded enough to, get the help. I appreciate you guys as always. Thanks to Jen again. This is episode 34, guys. I'll catch you guys next week. Take care.